Welcome to the channel, bringing a real-world perspective to the real-world whiskey consumer.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Erin.
And we are back with another Topical Tuesday video where we like to start conversations with you guys. If I could get that sentence out correctly, harder than you would think talking to a camera. We're here to do the tough work for y'all. So anyways, we're here to start a conversation as well where we want to hear from you guys in the comments below. So we think this is kind of an interesting topic. It's kind of specific to bourbon, the way we're going to talk about it, but really it's universal in pretty much all hobbies. But we'll talk about where we're at with the life cycles of bourbon / whiskey nerddom. And we want to hear from you guys down below where you're at. So do you identify in one of these stages? Can you see yourself there? Or, you know, are you on your own quest? Let us know in the comments below. But let's go ahead and get into it with the first stage of becoming a bourbon nerd. We all start out with general interest, right?
Right.
Like that's what happens, whether it be media influence, socially influenced.
Yeah. Or social media influence.
But you know, it's either you're in college and you're hanging out. That's what it was for me. I went to college at Western Kentucky.
You start a whiskey tube channel with your husband and then you become interested.
No, that's not fair. You were drinking whiskey before I ever met you.
I was drinking it, but I wouldn't call it a hobby.
But that was your general interest. That's the whole point. This is the life cycle as you go. Okay. So you have to have a kernel of interest.
Okay, yeah. I had a kernel of interest before this.
Right, and yours was social.
Yes, mine was social.
And
absolutely.
You're pretty much still there. You've never really graduated beyond that.
No, and that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Right, because you're not really a whiskey nerd.
No, I would not call myself a nerd of whiskey.
You're a social drinker, a social sharer of experiences and good spirits.
Yes.
And hopefully having good spirits while you enjoy said good spirits.
Yes.
But for me, it started in college where I was very interested in it because it was either crap beer or crap whiskey, and I enjoyed the crap bourbon better than I enjoyed the Keystone Light. So, went in on the Evan Williams Black Label and never really looked back from there. But that was 20 some odd years ago now.
Yeah.
And it stayed as general interest and social for me for a long time.
Wow, yeah.
It was old fashions for me. It was old fashions for you when you would go out.
Love a good old fashioned.
Bullet on the rocks for you. It was
Bullet with one rock.
Yeah, it was neat pours for me over time. But I never really went beyond that for a good 10 plus, maybe even 15 years from the time I started drinking bourbon.
Yeah.
I stayed in that general interest phase. Then you get the enthusiastic spark is what we're calling it. And this happens in hobbies of all kinds, but you start getting a little bit more interested than generally interested. And you start reading up on things more. You start doing more research.
I have lived through many Josh enthusiastic spark phases, and those are something.
And let's be honest, if you're sitting here watching this right now, you're at least in this stage. Normal people don't watch whiskey content on YouTube.
Probably not. Yeah, I will agree.
Yeah. So
I like how you said normal people don't. So you're not normal.
We are a rare breed, pun intended.
Ooh.
But the thing is that, you know, when you start really getting interested in something, you want to learn more about it, right? Like, that's the whole reason.
Watch more content about it.
Yeah, it's the whole reason people take pilgrimages to Kentucky to go on the Bourbon Trail, visit distilleries and do tours and things like that.
That's true, yeah.
But you can read and you can learn in the safety and privacy of your own home. I don't know why I said safety. The world's not that scary out there. It's okay.
Well,
you can go. Well, sometimes it is. But you can learn at home. You can go out. You can be social with it. You know, you can still maintain your social aspects while you're learning more about the hobby and getting a little nerdy about it. You might start distancing yourself a little bit from your friends, or they may start looking to you like, hey, you're the bourbon guy. You're the Scotch guy.
What should I get?
You're the whatever. Yeah. What should I get?
Or gal. Guy or gal.
Colloquial guys, you know.
Yeah.
And so as we tend to educate ourselves more, you start learning more, and that's a really fun process. I personally love that stage of any hobby I've ever been involved in.
You do.
I love researching.
He does.
I soak it up like a sponge. It's a ton of fun, but then you move on. And the moving on we're talking about might be a little unhealthy.
Potentially.
This is where you start getting the unquenchable thirst.
Yeah.
Like you go from just wanting to learn about it to having to learn about it.
Or not necessarily having to learn about it, but having to have all the things you need to do that hobby.
Right. So you don't just want the next bottle. You want all the bottles. Yeah. So That is a stage that we all get in.
Yeah.
And this is a stage you see a lot on social media where people will continue to just buy more and more for their collection. And I've done it too. It's a ton of fun to get the next thing. You get that little dopamine hit, right? Like buying things gives you a little bit of a rush.
Actually, there are studies that show that it's not you're actually the most happy right before you actually purchase something.
Yeah.
Like you get the most dopamine, I think is what it is. It's the most hit you get right before you purchase something. And then once you get it, it's all downhill from there.
And then you mix in a hobby like bourbon or any whiskey brand, like spirit type you're in, scotch, rye, whatever, and you start mixing in allocated products. They're hard to get, and you start getting your hands on those, and then boy, that really spikes the dopamine. Like then you're feeling really good. And it can become a bit all consuming. You can overspend on your budget, you can over consume, which we try to very much limit that around here. We are too old to be feeling bad the next day. But
Lord, preach.
Yes. But you got to be careful when you're in this stage because it can be a little bit of an all-consuming fire depending on your personality type. Me personally speaking, I know I have to be extra cautious about this in whatever hobby I'm in because I will blow through the budget, I will overspend, I will ask for forgiveness instead of permission, and then I will find myself with a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of bottles in this case, most of which I don't ever really want to drink all that much.
Yeah.
But I just bought them because I wanted to buy them, to have them, because I wanted to add them to the collection or whatever. And then the next thing you know, you're kind of overrun with bottles that you're not enjoying. And that brings us to our next phase. Finding the balance in your hobbies is key.
This is the key phase, I think, that you want to strive for.
Yeah. There's a little meme, and I'll put it over here, over there, but it's like the brain meme. It's like the person's skull in blue, and it's got the little bitty brain inside of it, and that's like social drinking.
Okay.
And then the brain's a little bit bigger in the next panel, and then that's your kind of enthusiastic spark, and there's some rays coming out of it, and then the next one is there's all kinds of rays coming out of it, and that's your, that's when you're like, you got to have it all.
Yeah.
And then this is where your big brain. The brain has filled up the skull.
And we want big brain thinking here.
Yeah. So this is where you realize that, what, I like these types of products. These are what I'm going to focus my time, effort, and energy on spending my money on. You maybe start drifting a little bit more into that quality over quantity thing.
Yeah.
And this isn't an indictment or a statement on anybody's specific budget range or the quality of whiskey you enjoy. It's just realizing, hey, I like this.
Right.
This fits my flavor profile. This fits what I like in a bottle.
Right.
This fits my budget.
It doesn't have to be expensive to be quality whiskey.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys, if you're viewers of the channel, get that. Like, I think that's what we're trying to explain. Expensive doesn't always mean good. It can mean good, but it doesn't always mean good. Yeah. So that we're not here to shame anyone's budget. Our budget's not that big for whiskey. So
yeah, honestly, I think at the end of the day, this is kind of where you start saying, you know what, there's this bottle on the shelf, but I can know based on my own personal preferences, I'm probably not going to like it, even though a lot of people say that I should buy it, but I'm going to pass on it because it's probably not for me. Or it's saying, you know what, I've got $60 to spend. I'm going to go get one good bottle instead of 2 or 3 or 4 lesser bottles.
Right.
Yeah. And that's not to say that,
you just start to know yourself more, I think, at this stage.
Right.
This is a stage where you learn yourself more and the hobby isn't overtaking you. You are enjoying a hobby.
Right. You've kind of went through the journey of learning what you like, and now you're kind of resting in that, and you're getting more comfortable in that space.
Yep.
And that's a perfect transition into the last point of just being selective. You start getting a lot more selective about what you do, about the things you have, and hopefully you start kind of paying it forward a little bit. You start sharing more, whether it be sample swaps or bottle shares or anything like that. Those are really good ways to share your enthusiasm in a really healthy way for other people. Maybe you start a YouTube channel. I would say that actually usually happens back in the gotta have it all phase.
Probably.
Your enthusiasm is at an all-time high. Or, you start a local bourbon club, or you get involved in a local bourbon club or whiskey club. But yeah, it can be a really fun hobby. There's just a few things you need to kind of temper the fire as you go along, and be aware that, you know, you don't want to overdo it budgetarily or consumption wise, because neither of those are going to be very good for you in the long run. So just try to keep that in perspective. The last 2 points I'll make here are that if you do see someone with a really big collection online, know that it took them a while to build that. Those types of things don't happen overnight.
That's true.
And it can be easy to get caught up. And my second point would be to fight the FOMO. We should be wearing our Fight the FOMO shirts. What are we doing with our lives?
We really missed that opportunity.
We are really bad at YouTube. But if we were better at YouTube, we would be wearing our Fight the FOMO shirts, which you can get down in the video description below. There's some good YouTubing.
There you go.
You can get the shirts down there. But if you want to fight the FOMO, the fear of missing out, just part of that is perspective. Is realizing that when you see these collections, people either have connections, they might have overpaid,
or it could have just been something over time that you didn't see, you know, coming. Like, I remember when I was an adult, I got really upset that I didn't have all the furniture in my first house that my parents had.
That's a good point, yeah.
And I didn't click with me for years that they had built that furniture, you know, that home for 20 something years, and I was just starting out. I'm not going to have what they had after 20 years. So just keep that in mind when you look at other people's collections, where they're at in their journey compared to yours, and don't play that comparison game. Just don't do it.
Comparison is the thief of joy. That's a fact. Have fun with it. Enjoy your journey as you go. Find what you like the most, and let us know in the comments below kind of where you're at in this. Or if you even agree with it at all, you're free to disagree. We welcome different opinions because they could be helpful to people reading the comments below as well.
Or if you think of like another stage or a part B of a stage, let us know.
Yeah, let us know down there. While you're down there, if you like the video, think about subscribing to the channel because we do these types of videos every week over here. Like it if you like it. Hit the bell if you want to join us for a report on a live stream. We do those once a month and would love for you to join in.
We absolutely would. That's it for today, though. Be good to each other, and until next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.